All of this, falling apart like this, is on you.
Wow. Wow. Oh, that's some kind of logic right there.
Sony,
You screw up, get yourself...
wanting me to be married.
And now, suddenly, this is all my fault. Why don't you walk me through this?
We had a good thing, you stupid son of a bitch. We had...
Crash one. Crash worked.
We had everything we needed. It all ran like clockwork. You could have shut your mouth.
Collected crystals.
And made as much money as you ever needed. It was perfect. But no, you just had to blow it up. You and your pride and your ego. You just had to be the man. If you'd done your job, known your place, we'd all be fine right now.
For those of you who watched our Crash Bandicoot episode, you may remember a comment that I made about how the first Crash Bandicoot game was the first PlayStation game that I ever played, and would be somewhat of a baseline for how I would judge other video games. And I don't know if I set myself up for failure by making my baseline such a high-quality outlier. Even if it was a disadvantage, it still got me hooked into gaming. You may be wondering, why are we going from reviewing Crash 1 to Crash Bash without talking about the 3 titles in between? And that's because it was fucking Casey's idea! I will mention that I had all 5 Crash games growing up for PlayStation, and I absolutely adored 1 through 3, especially Warped. I liked CTR as well, though I may have broken some of my DualShock controllers playing that one. But Crash Bash... I feel like Crash Bash was where the series took a turn for the worse. So I'm just gonna throw that out there. I don't like Crash Bash. I can honestly end the review right there. Well, no, I can't actually. Why? Because my kid brother likes it.
Friends, Romans, fellow countrymen, lend me your ears. I've returned victorious from lands unknown after nearly 2-year absence to tell you that Crash Bash isn't only not a bad game, but actually a really good addition to the PS1 Crash series. But before we go any further, we'd like to talk about today's sponsor, Ray's Collectibles and more. Are you looking to buy quality comic books, action figures, clothing and accessories, or your favorite childhood movies, or, well, maybe even some of today's truly retro video games? Then you need to head on over to Ray's Collectibles and more, an Albuquerque-based eBay and web store that will not only meet your needs with quality new and used inventory, but everything is priced to sell. So be sure to use promo code... Oh, excuse me. I know this is unprofessional answering my phone in the middle of a sponsored plug, but this will just take a sec. Hello, this is Casey. Hey, Brian. Mr. Alvarez. Yeah, it's not a great time. We're in the middle of a... They don't sponsor us? Lawsuit? What about a bear riding a motorcycle? Fuck. Hey, Cody, we lost our only sponsor, so the hell with the Ray's Collectibles and more. Their products are made out of toilet paper, and their prices are punchlines to really unfunny jokes. Use promo code Ray Likes to Eat His Own. Anyway, Cody has more of a sentimental mentality when it comes to the first 3 Crash games. But I wasn't even born yet when the first game was released, and was a mere 3 years old when Crash Bash was first brought to the market. So in reality, some of my earliest gaming memories involved Crash Bash.
Good Lord, what is happening in there? Aurora Borealis?
So, for those of you who don't know, Crash Bash is a party game. See, in the 90s, Mario and Crash were always duking it out like they were the Beatles and the Rolling Stones.
I'd like to just list what we did and what Crash Bandicoot did 2 months after on every fucking PlayStation title. And every fucking thing we did, Crash does exactly the same. He imitates us. And I'd like one of you fucking underground people to point it out, you know? Crash Team Racing is fucking Mario Kart. Crash Bash is fucking Romance Mario Party. You know, fucking bullshit.
Mario had a 3D platforming adventure game. Crash had 3 of them. Mario had a go-kart racer, so Crash had to have a go-kart racer. Mario had Mario Party, so Crash had Crash Bash. In all fairness, it's quite different than Mario Party, in that instead of being a virtual board game with tons of minigames, it has a setup like Crash Bandicoot 2, where you pick and choose the party game through a series of warp rooms.
But before we get into the actual game, we need to talk about the story.
Yeah, it's great. Aku Aku, who is the protectorate for all that which is good, even though Aku literally means evil. Anyway, Aku Aku and Uka Uka, who is the evil version of that guy, Mask, are fighting over which of the two is better, and they decide to settle their differences over a series of party games.
Yeah, but then Aku Aku must have realized that he fucked up, because this is a universe where there's a dozen bad guys and 2 good guys?
And there's something about crystals, but anyway, Uka Uka, even though he is evil, still allows this to be a fair contest and allows Aku to select a couple of murderous psychos to join the good guys.
Wow, what a great story. It's got characters and...
Let's get to the game. So we're playing as Tiny the Tiger, and we lumber around the warp room like we have a bear riding a unicycle up our ass. Then we pick one of these 4 levels, and the game really begins.
First type of game is like 4-way Pong, and it's one of the best mini games on here. You have to outlast the 3 other players by not allowing balls through your goal.
You just can't make games better than this.
You can't make games better than Pong!
Shut your fat ass.
Yeah, so you can knock the balls back by hitting them with your cart, and you can press square to hit a ball with a supercharge for more speed.
You can also hold R1 and L1 to speed your cart up and lose every round.
The object of each minigame is to win 3 rounds so that you can receive a trophy.
Once you receive 4 trophies, you can fight the first boss.
The second minigame involves the 4 characters in a death match on ice.
You ride polar bears and try to knock one another off the ice in the allotted time, while also being mindful of the floating laser machine, which can either give you something good like a lightning bolt, which will strike down on the other players with furious anger, unless they steal it from you before the countdown ends, but it allows the one player standing to knock multiple players off the ice.
Or something awful like the anvil, which is instant death to the person who happens to be unlucky enough to possess it.
You can also grow big like my debt and shrink like a kind of cold morning.
Next game.
The third mini game involves hopping around on pogo sticks and hitting boxing. Your pogo stick paints the freaking ground, and when you hit a purple box, it tabulates how many squares you have painted.
There are also power-ups like the missile to stop other players in their tracks, and arrows to give a quick scoring advantage by highlighting an entire row of squares your color.
The player who achieves the highest score in the allotted time gets to be declared the McRibbonist winner.
And then there's Jungle Bash. This is the easiest of the 4. Well, actually, all of the mini games or party games or whatever in the hell these are supposed to be.
And I'm getting sick and tired of looking at that bazonka-zonkin' freaking flapjackin' freak of nature Rillaroo. That stupid face, that stupid tail, his jonga waka waka bullshit monkey taunts or gorilla whatever. Otherwise, you just throw boxes at the other players until their health meters are depleted.
Just a quick note on the graphics. I want to remind everyone just how good their characters looked in previous Crash games compared to this one. Here's Tiny the Tiger in Crash 2, and here he is in Crash Warped. So why does he look like ass in Crash Bash? Here's Koala Kong in Crash 1. Now how in God's name does he look worse in Crash Bash 4 years later? Alright, another one. Embryo, again, Crash 1. Now, here he is in Crash Bash. Rillaroo has never really been in another Crash game before, or really after this, except for the new CTR game.
What the hell was that?
Graphics aside, Jungle Bash is one we can agree on to be a favorite. Sometimes simplicity and familiarity can be an advantage.
Be mindful of your health meter, watch out for exploding TNT crates, and grab plenty of Wumpa fruit.
What is a Wumpa fruit anyway?
It's like a mango-apple crossbreed, I think.
What? Why don't they just call it like a Mapple? Or like, I don't know, like an Anpo?
Casey, Dingodile is a dingo crossed with a crocodile.
You stupid idiot!
Rillaroo is a gorilla crossed with a kangaroo. Dr. InGen is Elon Musk crossed with Mark Zuckerberg.
Hallelujah! Holy shit!
And you want to know why a Wumpa is called a Wumpa?
Screw it. You sure know how to take something as fun as playing Crash Bash and make it miserable.
Do you remember how huge Tiny used to be? Now look at Papu from the first Crash game. And now look at this. I mean, Papu is twice the size of Tiny. I mean, what in the hell happened here? They act like this is a damn cartoon.
It's supposed to be like a cartoon, idiot. This is the first boss level, and it's just dodge, 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 hit him while he's laughing, and take out the creepy mini Crash Bandicoots.
It's kind of like Jungle Bash, but easier.
Okay, so before we move around to the next warp room, let's recap. We had a great time with 4-way Pong, painted our path to victory with a pogo stick game, bashed some heads with a box bash game, and got to knock opponents off of a block of ice while riding polar bears. So far, I'm having a great time.
Oh, Casey.
With variety like that, how can you not like this game?
Tell you what, buddy. Why don't you head on up to Warp Room 2 and tell me what's next?
Same.
That's right. More 4-way Pong, more crate bashing, more ice riding, and more pogo sticks. How's that for variety?
To be 100% fair, although they are similar, they aren't totally the same. In Beach Ball, you can now use a magnet on your vehicle to suck balls, retain balls, and shoot them into your opponent's goal faster. Or hit the damn wall and have them go back into yours.
Tilt Panic gets rid of the ice boundaries and Andy Reid jumps on the ice. Otherwise, no changes were really made. It's still one of the easier games.
Pogo A Go-Go mixes the crates and forces you to connect your paint into squares to score points. Still not sure why the borders move.
And Space Bash is just like Jungle Bash, but now it takes place in the future. And you can bomb the holes in the ground that players are forced to jump over or fall to their deaths. I mean, whatever your style is.
But Warp Room 2 does give us one game that makes its first appearance, Desert Fox.
The tank mini games are the worst. It's too easy to get stuck while you're trying to manage the clunky tank controls, and you're required to move your turrets with L1 and R1.
Desert Fox isn't as bad as the later iterations, but you don't want to be stuck in a hallway while bombs are exploding and opponents are shooting at you across the playing field.
So we collect all 9 available trophies, and guess what? We need to backtrack to fight the second boss. In order to challenge the Bearminator, we need to, in addition to the 9 trophies, also get 6 gems and 3 crystals. Ridiculous.
The gems and crystals are earned by going back to previous levels and undertaking unique challenges such as stricter time limits or being able to beat all of your opponents without having the same abilities as you did before.
It forces you to beat the game in a more well-rounded sense because the previous Crash games, you could technically beat the game while only collecting the base item, which was usually crystals.
Well, these are the kind of challenges that separate the men from the boys. Come on. Come on! Damn it! This is not freaking fair.
I don't say this often, but I blame you for this one.
Another change is that these challenges will occasionally change the way the level looks. Oh, and our other crucial detail, you only have to beat your opponents once to get a crystal or gem, as opposed to 3 times.
On to the Baminator.
This boss follows a similar formula to the previous boss, only it's on ice. So if you like the polar bear levels, this one's right up your alley. More like right up your ice. The Bearminator sends robotic polar bears to take you down with homing missiles, so all you need to do is give the skipper here a taste of his own medicine.
The game continues to repeat the same levels with slight differences to the gameplay and background, so we'll focus on the levels that are more unique, and of course, the final 2 bosses.
The final 2 types of minigames are the racing games, where you literally drive around haphazardly in a tiny little donut circle with some of the worst controls known to mankind, and to try to blow your opponents off of the track.
Oh man, and don't even get me started on the fucking toxic waste version of this track. You would play these racing levels and you would swear that this game had to have come out before CTR. But alas, no. I mean, man, I thought the controls in the tank levels were abysmal, but I mean, this is just terrible. You're going way too fast and you're having to constantly rock the D-pad. I didn't even try this with the thumbsticks. I can only imagine. It'd just be impossible. It'd just be straight up impossible. You're going way too fast. You can't control it. And then you turn too fast on top of that. Then you have these fucking toxic waste barrels all over the place. It's bullshit.
And finally, we have the balloon popping minigame. What do you mean out of ideas?
Each character gets a corresponding color, and the object is to pop the balloons of your color. For instance, if you're playing one player, it's yellow. Now, if you pop the black balloon, all of the balloons on the screen at that time will convert to your color. There's also a couple of power-ups along the way, like the vacuum, which sucks in all the balloons. What's fucking ridiculous, though, is trying to use a 3-dimensional character model to pop a 2-dimensional balloon. I mean, where am I at in time and space exactly? Or I guess, rather, where are the balloons in time and space exactly?
Alright, boss number 3. Shout out to Crash 2 with the Komodo Bros. Both Joe and Mo are back with another damn tank level. You'd think they'd put you in a moon rover while you're on the moon, but instead they put you in a tank?
You know, after all of these negative comments that you've made, I gotta say, I thought you liked this fucking game.
I do! I just don't care for the majority of minigames, half of the characters, the story, or the controls. The sheer idea of this game, which was stolen, carries this game, which is why it's so sought after to this day.
Crash Bash!
I guess we'll just have to agree to agree.
This game is just so much better when playing with friends. It's like 52 card pickup. When you're playing by yourself, it's miserable. When you're playing with a couple of friends, you have a couple of people that fucking hate you for doing it, but will still pick up the cards anyway.
The last boss.
Hang on, Cody. I got this. So in a game where you can choose to play as the good guys or the bad guys, well, who's gonna be the last boss? Can't be Cortex, right? So guess who they bring back?
Nitrous oxide.
God damn it, Cody! That was my line!
I thought you were asking a question.
It was rhetorical!
So you chase oxide through space. Gee, I haven't seen this boss battle before. Crash Bandicoot 2!
And then, it's freaking Pong again! Although I guess it's okay, because it's quite difficult.
There's a good ending and a bad ending. In the good ending, Aku Aku locks Uka Uka up for good. Oh, that's great. Because I bet we'll never see him again.
And in the bad ending, evil takes over and everyone is completely screwed. Sure am glad I didn't get off my couch today.
Upon completing the game, you can always go back and torture yourself some more by collecting all of the crystals and gems.
Not to mention the relics, which you get by defeating expert level NPCs. These relics unlock a 5th warp room, but sadly we're out of time.
We can keep playing.
I just told you we're out of time! Impatience!
Crash Bash, while certainly not the worst PlayStation game out there, is an underwhelming Crash Bandicoot game. At this point, Naughty Dog was no longer involved, and it really shows. The music is all remixes of the previous game soundtracks, so nothing original, really. The games are basic and repetitive. The bosses are lackluster, the controls are middle of the road with the exception of the tank and the racing games where they suck ass, and for some reason the graphics were downgraded. The best thing I can say about Crash Bash is it makes a good multiplayer game, but they didn't allow a multiplayer option for the main story mode, so to unlock everything for when you and your friends are all playing it together, you have to unlock it through the single player story mode. But this isn't the kind of game where it's fun to do that. With that said, I give Crash Bash a 6.0 out of 10.
And I give it an 8 out of 10. Would bash again. Good night. 6 out of 10, you piece of shit.